You're listening to the Quint podcast.
Over 14 lakh CBSE students breathed out a sigh of relief on 1st June when Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that the Class 12 board exams have been cancelled in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. Following that announcement, the Council for the Indian School Certificate Examinations, that is CISCE, also scrapped its ISC board exams for this year. While on one hand, the announcements have been well received by both parents and schools, given the safety concerns around the pandemic, but a few fears have also set in. First, regarding how students will be graded, and second, how the colleges will now process admissions, which prompts the question, does this announcement help students or are they still feeling uncertain about their future? For today's episode, we spoke to students to know what they think about the decision to scrap board exams. Apart from students, you'll also hear from parents and several school principals on this issue, the marking scheme, and the way forward for college admissions. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. Class 10 board exams for CBSE had already been cancelled, and now apart from the CBSE and CISCE, several state governments have also followed suit and cancelled the state board exams for Class 12. States like Haryana and Gujarat have announced the cancellation of the exams, and even opposition-ruled states like Maharashtra, Rajasthan and West Bengal have stated that they are mulling over the decision and will announce in a few days' time. Rituparna Shekhar, a Class 12 student from Heritage Girls School in Udaipur, said that she is glad that the decision has finally been reached. She added that the past 2 months have been very difficult, given the uncertainty of the exams and the fact that her mother also tested positive for COVID, which made it more difficult for her to study.
I was eager to give the exam, but situations from past 2 months was not really favorable for me to prepare for the exams because when it was announced that it is postponed, so I was like, relax, ki, let's wait for the dates and then we'll start preparing because I was preparing from past 3 months before that. So I was like it was very hectic and preparing it all over again, it was not possible. And then my mother was also affected from COVID, so I didn't have a situation to study at all. So then I wished for कि it's okay, ठीक है, फिर cancel ही हो जाए. It's better because whole situation is very hectic and you can't give exam in that situation. Like preparing for both at least when you are like aspiring for DULSR, it's not possible.
Ira Gintala, also from Heritage Girls School Udaipur, stated that the past 2 months have been a blur and that a feeling of frustration grew since there was no clear call on if the board exams will be conducted or not.
At first, I was waiting for the exams to take place, but then slowly when they announced that the exams are being postponed, then there was a feeling of frustration which developed. It's like, why are they continuously postponing it? Like, ya to aap cancel karo or else you just take the exams instead of postponing it. So those 2 months gap was actually it was not that good because aisa bhi tha ki should we study or should we not? Yeah, so all of it was a very confusion state. Like we didn't know what will happen next. It was all blur.
The questions around whether to conduct board exams or not has been hanging in the air since 15th April when they were postponed, throwing millions of students into limbo. But it is unclear on what exactly is going to be the alternate procedure yet. The centre in their notice stated that the results will be compiled as per a quote-unquote a well-defined objective criteria. However, no clarity has been given so far on what this criterion is. And there's also a difference in how it all panned out for Class 12 students last year when the pandemic hit and how it's affected school education and exams this year. Last year, most of the core subject exams were conducted before the lockdown was introduced in March, and only a few optional subjects remained, which were postponed. However, this year, will all exams be scrapped? A big question mark is now hovering over how the highly competitive admission process will work. The CBSE board has stated that in case some students wish to take the exams, such an option would be provided to them by the CBSE, as and when the situation becomes conducive. I asked Ira and Rituparna on their views on the internal assessment scheme for grading, especially if their grades from class 9 to 11th will be included in the assessments. Both said that the general sentiment among students has always been that if they score less in the internal exams, they can always cover up in the board exams.
That there's one rule, one guideline which is coming up right now. It's like they'll notice the marks of 9th, 10th, and 11th. But that's not possible. Most of the students don't study in 9th and 11th. Like, on what basis they'll give marks? Because in 9th also we are free-minded कि ठीक है यार 10th में boards है we'll study, and in 11th also the same thing happens कि यार ठीक है 12th में board है we'll study then.
Our teachers always told us कि इतना serious मत लो, you'll have boards, you'll have to do good in both. So listening to them, we did not pay much attention on our internal thing. Though we out of 4, 2 practicals were conducted in our school, so they went pretty well. But then we were still not serious about the internals. Like, ठीक है, internals ही तो है. But now it's actually pretty scary that what marks will the school give, and इसी basis पे the colleges will be decided. So that's even more scarier कि अब क्या होगा.
Parents are also of the same opinion. I spoke with Miss Nena Nagpal, a parent of a class 12 student from Modern Public School in Delhi, and she said that if the students were given an earlier heads up about the internal assessments, they would have performed much better in them.
As per my experience as a parent and as a teacher goes, I think the right criteria which the government is going to decide when collaboration with CBSE is going to be the internal assessment, how the children have performed for the entire year. But that is going to be a situation because everyone would not have taken the internal examination, keeping in mind that class 12 students mostly focus on their boards, the final preparation. So had this decision be a little earlier, keeping in mind of speculating the waves, would have given little room for children to prepare for their internals as seriously as they were doing for their board examination, is what I personally feel.
Ira and Rituparna also mentioned that another fear that they have is the very common problem of favoritism by teachers for certain students and how fair their internal assessment would be. Alka Kapoor, the principal for Modern Public School in Delhi, also said that the internal assessments are not entirely fair to most students since students don't take the internal exams seriously and wait for the board exams to really perform. She added that it is imperative that the Education Board specifies on the final mark sheet that grades were given on an internal assessment and were provided during the pandemic so that students do not face any problems in the future when applying for colleges or jobs.
Internal exams, the midterm exams, the class unit tests, the projects, whatever it be, children really don't take it very, very seriously because the high achievers are busy with their entrance and competitive exams, and the low achievers always, they study in the last hour. So now I think a teacher's recommendation or internal some grading from the teacher may also help. And the children who are dissatisfied with their exams, the government has already declared they need not worry because when the things improve and the curve flattens, they can take the pen and paper test and have a better result for themselves. However, I feel the government must write on the mark sheet at least one liner that this result is the pandemic year, COVID pandemic year result, so that children really don't suffer when they have to take some jobs in future or when they want to do some courses in future.
Of course.
That's the best option in the given circumstances.
But Amita Mullah Vatal, the principal of Springdale School in Delhi, says that internal assessments are few of the only plausible ways of assessing students fairly at the moment. But she also believes that there should be rules regarding the same to ensure that schools do not inflate the marks.
Given the current circumstances, the only thing, as you rightly said, is the internal assessment, which has never really found favor with parents, because there's always been an issue of a trust deficit. But right now, with internal assessments, but right now that is the only way forward, because there are millions of children across the country who have. Some of them have not even had an online test. Some have not had an offline test. So in order to bring about some type of standardization, I think it is imperative to take, at some points, to take the averages or to moderate them in order to ensure that schools do not sort of blow up the marks. A certain historical data can be used the way it was used in class 10, so the last 3 to 4 years of aggregates and averages, so that you know that by and large school results have always averaged at a particular percentage. That can help out in seeing that over the top marking does not take place. But yes, the only way forward is taking either the pre-board online or the pre-board offline, the practicals which have already been uploaded in most schools, taking that forward. Because I do believe that percentiles had never really been a balanced projection of the marks, which would be, I think grade 11 can be left out. I think it's only the class 12 that we need to look at and see different permutation combinations which can be used for this. But the big thing is that this is now a reckoner for us to ensure that we look at the way we need to look at assessments far more flexibly, the board examinations, look at how we can change our entire mindset and marking systems, and make and sort of dovetail into what the NEP has talked about of learning experiences, learning standards in classrooms, which are more child friendly, which are more involved with 21st century skilling of resilience, of critical thinking, of competency based learning. All that should now really become a part of the package of teaching, learning and assessments.
Surely many parents are glad that a decision has been reached regarding the board exams and their children are no longer in a dilemma about what is next. But the question of what next, that is something both parents and children are worried about. Ms. Nagpal stated that she is glad that the exams are cancelled given the impact of the second wave, but hopes that the centre introduces some stringent policies which will make sure that the admission criteria is fair.
As a parent, individually as a parent, if I think about it, yes, the health of my child is my priority at this moment. So keeping in mind the health concerns, I totally welcome the decision of government. And on the other hand, if I go on a little practical side, I really request government to look for some stringent policies or some action so that university admissions could be little fair and quick, because right now children, yes, it's very good that they have come out of one stress that they are not going to appear in the examination, but the second stress has immediately begun. What is going to be the future?
The cancellation of CBSE Class 12 board exams is a big deal for lakhs of students in India because now school is officially over for them and the competitive world of college admissions and jobs awaits them in the next few months. However, they are yet to gain clarity on the biggest hurdle on the path, which is how they will be graded in their most important school year. If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.